Hi everyone, good afternoon. Good afternoon. How are you all doing? Happy Sunday. Happy Sunday. Hope you're enjoying your Sunday. Let me just get this up here on my screen. There we go. I can see any comments that come up. So this is kind of the last thing that we're going to do as part of Create this week. So I just decided to kind of do a live Q&A. So if anybody had any questions on mental health or creativity or Arty Farty Retreat or anything that anybody wanted to ask me, that I could kind of just have a bit of a chat with you guys really, and you can just have a conversation and a chat with me about what you want. This is that really nerve-wracking bit where I go, oh my god, I've just done a live Q&A and no one's gonna turn up. That's my fear, because it's Sunday and everyone's probably having massive, nice, big roast dinners. It's probably what's gonna happen. So if anyone has got any questions, obviously just type them in the comments below, and I'll endeavour to answer them. But hopefully you guys have all enjoyed the sessions that we've done this week. So we've had the tips every morning about how to, just different things to kind of help lift your mental health really, or help keep your emotions healthy and keep your resilience up. So we've had those tips all week. We've had oil pastels. We've been doing oil pastels this week, which was actually a kind of therapy for me actually, because I haven't used oil pastels in so long, and they're kind of, I think they're that material that gets forgotten about, and they're kind of like at the back of the cupboard all the time. They're probably the last thing that I would pick to use to draw with. So it's been really nice to kind of get back in touch with them, and really use them. Yay, people are joining. Hello. A couple of people are joining. Excellent. Start asking questions, start commenting with questions. We've also had doodle chats this week, which has just been brilliant, and thank you so much to everyone who's done one of those with me, because they've just been great to hear other people's kind of thoughts on creativity and the effect it's had on their mental health, and what they think about it generally. We've had some great chats about creativity and education as well, which has just been brilliant. So it's been fun. It's been a really good week. Oh, and I had the talk yesterday about journaling and mental health of journaling as well, so that was really nice. Hello Cheryl. Hi Emma. Emma's here. I'd love to know the inspiration, or what the inspiration was to open the retreat. It's a thought that I had for about 2 years, I think, maybe 2.5 years. I don't think I can even tell you what sparked it, but I did a drawing. I and I think it was watercolour painting. I'm pretty sure it's watercolour painting that I did, and stuck it on my wall that said Arty Farty Cafe. So my initial inspiration and thought was that I wanted a cafe that people could then come and just do arty things, and get in touch with their creative side, and then maybe have like a back room or an upstairs, where all these different kind of workshops and things would happen, and it would be a bit of a space and a bit of a room for exhibitions and things like that as well, and actually people selling their artwork. So lots of people saying hello, Cheryl. It's saying pretty dress. Thank you very much. I like this. It's one of my floaty dresses. So Arty Farty Retreat kind of just came into being because I wanted a place, a community of art where anybody could access art, because I found quite a lot of arts communities, not just in Tunbridge Wells, but in other places as well, were quite snooty. I was trying to think of a better word, but they were quite snooty and very much about the end result and getting the perfect pictures. There's quite a lot of places out there, there's quite a lot of teachers out there that do similar stuff to what I do. You know, they teach art classes, but it's very much focused on the end result, or here's a Van Gogh, this is exactly what you're going to paint, and everyone ends up with 20 Van Gogh sunflowers. So I wanted somewhere where people could find their own style and just learn the techniques and experiment as well and just play. I think that's probably a big emphasis on Arty Farty Retreat. Definitely about playing. So yeah, after doing a few years of management, I wanted to introduce creativity, not just in my life, but in other people's as well. Who else is there? Hannah, hello! Thank you very much, people, commenting on my dress. That's very lovely. So I hope that answers your question, Emma, about where Arty Farty Retreat came from. The name came from my parents, who always called me Arty Farty. I was always an Arty Farty person, which was just a term in our house that just meant, oh, you know, Nell's off on one again. She's being Arty Farty. But now, of course, you know, it really makes the kids chuckle. Actually, it makes adults chuckle as well. So quite often when I get cold callers now, because obviously the business address is up everywhere, so I get cold callers and they're quite, is it Arty Farty Retreat? And it's, yes it is. And it, so yeah, so it makes adults laugh too, not just the kids. What other questions have we got? What other questions? Oh, Cheryl, how can you encourage those that don't feel arty or creative to be creative? That's kind of my mission, actually. That's a really good question. That is kind of my mission. How do you, you know, someone that instantly goes, oh, I'm not creative, how do you encourage them to try it, to give it a go? Yeah, it's a hard one. So normally what I end up doing is talking to people about what they do, what are their hobbies, what are they interested in. 9 times out of 10 you will find something that that they instantly go, oh yeah, like I'm really good at baking, I really like baking. It's like, well, that is creative, that is being creative. You know, cake decorating, or oh yeah, well I write a lot, or I do some journal writing, or things like that. Well, that is being creative. So yeah, so it's interesting that people focus on the kind of the art side of being creative. But what I tend to do with people is sometimes I'll just sit there doodling while I'm talking to them. And if they make a comment on it, then go, well, you do it as well, and get them doodling. I quite often play games that are in some way kind of creative or arty. So if I'm asked to come along to kind of various meetings, when I was a manager in palliative care, I obviously used to attend quite a lot of different meetings and different training programs that I used to help deliver. There's lots of different stuff like that I do that was often quite boring. So quite often I'd have to like punch in and go, right, no, we're going to do something completely different. So I'd often quite use like creative different games to get people going. And these were people that did not see themselves as creative at all. And certainly not at work. And so many of them came up to me afterwards and went, oh, that was really good fun. Like, I really enjoyed that and I want to do more. It can be as simple as leaving out colouring sheets as well for people. So that can always encourage people to do. It would be really, really good. What's Roz said? Hopefully that's answered your question, Cheryl, about how to get people more creative. And things like this, you know, sharing videos and the podcast and stuff like this that I've done as well, I think can inspire people. And you think, like, you know, it doesn't have to look amazing, it's just about the process. Roz has got a question. What's Roz got a question? Would you consider a podcast to build out the discussions or the conversations you've been having on live? Yeah, I kind of, so Doodle Chats was, Doodle Chats kind of was originally meant to be a podcast. So I'm not a very good oral learner. So things like podcasts or audiobooks, I concentrate on, because I have to concentrate. So I know that sounds really bizarre, but like I will have to solely concentrate on just sitting there and listening to that podcast or that audiobook. So, but my husband, Ed, is really into podcasts. Watches them all the time. Listens to them all the time. And he suggested that we do a podcast about that. And so it kind of came out of that. But because I'm such a visual person, I just went, no, we have to see people doodling while we're talking. We have to watch the doodles. So I kind of made it into a video. But I guess they could change into a podcast. Yeah, I guess they would. I suppose you could just take the audio from them and make them into a podcast, but then you wouldn't be able to see people's amazing, beautiful creations that they doodle on. So yeah, maybe I would consider making it a podcast. I think it would be interesting to see the different people that I could try and talk to as well. So like Cheryl was saying about people who don't feel arty or don't feel creative, I'd quite like to have a doodle chats with somebody like that who doesn't think they're creative at all. It'd be interesting to see what their point of view is. Because I've quite cleverly spoken to people this week who I know are fairly creative in some way or another. So yeah, so that would be really interesting. Really interesting. Or like a panel talk or something would be good. Thank you. Hopefully that's answered your question, Roz. Thank you for your question. Has anybody else got any other questions? There's no other questions there yet. This is really interesting to see what you guys want to know about. Or if you've got any questions on like the therapy side of it, or or the business side actually. Like Emma was talking about, how did Arty Farty Retreat get started? That would be really good. So as I say, we started with Arty Farty Cafe idea, but when I found the space for Arty Farty Retreat, which is in Southport High Street, there's already like 4 cafes there. So I just think I would spend all of my time sat there making coffees, giving out cake, and I probably wouldn't end up doing anything creative. So we kind of sacked that idea and just kept with the sole kind of mission, which was being creative. I think is kind of how it developed. Awesome. Has anyone else got any questions? What questions have you got? Who's just joined? Rosie's just joined. Hello, Rosie. Rosie was one of my victims for a doodle chats as well. Thank you very much, Rosie, for joining. What have we got? Emma, have you any way started to imagine the AF space with 2 meters distancing? Oh, yeah. So Arty Farty Retreat, the studio, I think we could probably open it tomorrow if we were allowed, with 2 meters distancing, because it's such a nice big space. We'd probably have reduced numbers there, and obviously we'd just like be wiping sides down and banisters down and things like that all the time. So yes, I think it could work like that. It could work like that. In all honesty, if we were told tomorrow we could open, I am not 100% sure that it would work, because I don't think people would come. As a kind of population, I don't think people are feeling very safe at the moment. I don't think people are feeling very safe to participate in things like that, other than at home. And I don't blame them. I really don't blame them. So I think if I opened tomorrow and we had the 2 meters distancing and everything else, I'm not sure people would feel safe enough to come. So I don't think we'd get anyone to come. Maybe we could do, maybe kind of nearer the time when we can open, because I think Arty Farty Retreat is sort of in line with education. That's how I'm looking at it. So maybe when the schools completely can go back safely, then maybe I can think about doing something. Maybe we could do something in like a big park, so that everyone's like 2 meters away from each other, or in their family groups, but 2 meters away from each other, creating, and do like a big collaborative thing in a park, and it's a nice open space then, and not a shut-in studio. That would be amazing. Oh, thanks, Emma. You've just given me a really nice idea now. Really good idea. I like this, especially with summer coming. What have we got? Martin, hi Nell, what can you suggest for people who don't have a supply of art materials and use it as an excuse for not doing art, even though you know they would really benefit from it? Yeah, that can be, yeah, I don't have any paints. I don't have any crayons. So the first week, I think, that I did, and was drawing, and the expressive drawing one that I did, yeah, those two, you can do with a pencil. I'm pretty sure, or a biro, some kind of pen. I'm pretty sure everyone has got a drawer full of pens and pencils somewhere in their house, or a box full of pens and pencils that they can use to do that. So, and the back of an envelope. I'm pretty sure everyone's got junk mail that's come through the door, or bills that they've got an envelope from, or a bit of cardboard. You can absolutely do any of those kind of drawings that I did in those weeks on using a pen or a pencil. As I say, or just doodling, just that kind of little bit of doodling around would be awesome. Yeah, Emma's just said Andy Goldsworthy, land art. Yes, so there's lots of artists who go around using nature to create art. We actually did, I think it must have been a half-term week one. We did building mandalas, but out of plants and flowers and things that we'd found out on a walk. They were great. They were absolutely great. So you absolutely can use anything to create art with, or to be creative with. Yeah, you don't have to have the range of art supplies that I have got, because I'm a hoarder. So yeah, so I would just use absolutely anything. Actually, I've seen some paintings being done with their finger and a cup of coffee, and they've just added more coffee into the water for different shades. So you really can use anything. What have we got? Olivia and I are so looking forward to visiting your workshops for the first time, as we have discovered you only during the lockdown. Oh, yes, I know, when the studio is back up and running again. It's such a gorgeous space. It's such a gorgeous space there. And it's just got a really nice feel as well. So when we can use it again, yes, definitely come along. That's interesting, actually, that quite a few people, probably about half of the people that watch the live tutorials, have never been to Arty Farty Retreat before, have never been to the studio. So that's quite interesting that people have found us online. And sometimes it's easier to participate online, isn't it? Because no one can see you. So yeah, that's really interesting as well. What's Rosie's? What is your favourite piece of artwork that you have created? From Rosie. Ever. My favourite piece of artwork ever that I've created? Oh. I did a lot. I have done a lot. My favourite piece of artwork that I've ever created was, I think it was either for GCSE or AS level. I think it might have been GCSE. See, this is, my brain doesn't remember. Where I got a car door, which my dad had to deliver to the school, which I painted on, and then I created these, I think it might have been my GCSE exam, you know, can't remember, and I'd created all of these vines and things out of kind of like ropes and stuff like that, and cane, I think, that basically kind of came in and took over the car. So it was this big kind of massive sculpture in the corner of the art room. And it was, I think the brief was about nature taking back the planet or something. And yeah, so that was probably my favourite piece of artwork that I did of mine. Even though I go through so many different phases of painting and sculpture and painting and sculpture, and now I'm doing mono printing and painting. But I think that's probably my favourite piece. That and my 6 foot jelly baby that I made. I think it was about 5 foot actually. It was just shorter than me. I think it was my 5 foot jelly baby that I made for my degree. they were my favourite pieces. What have we got? Hopefully that answers your question, Rosie. Cheryl, you always have so many ideas. Does creativity stimulate your ideas, or does it help you to wind down and relax, or both? Both. That's a really good question, Cheryl. It depends. It depends on the kind of creativity that I'm doing. So if I'm doodling or doing something that's quite mindless, that I don't really have to think about the process, so doodling, or sometimes I'll be kind of looking at other ideas and maybe copying them a bit and changing them a little bit, or actually the little books that I make, the little comic books that I do, which I used to do for my sister. I used to send loads to Rosie, and obviously I've started doing a couple for my niece now. I find those really relaxing and really cathartic. So sitting there doing that, doing my own artwork and coming up with ideas for Arty Farty Retreat, and the more I do of that, the more work it produces, definitely. That it just sparks more and more ideas. And having kind of conversations like this, I mean, like, talking to Emma about social distancing, and I've now got a whole idea in my head of a day event in a park or something, everyone creating. Yeah, so it depends on what kind of artwork I'm doing for relaxation or not. I think something quite mindless is easier to relax to. What have we got? Martin, are some art techniques better than others for helping with different areas of mental health well-being? Yes, I think I know what you mean. Yeah, so for example, if I'm working with somebody with post-traumatic stress disorder, I'll work with very different techniques to the techniques I might use with someone who's suffering with postnatal depression. I would use very different techniques when I work with people in palliative care than I would necessarily do with people who are suffering with anxiety, or I will use very different techniques with children and adults as well, for example. Some are the same, some techniques I will use with everyone. But yeah, there are different art techniques geared up for different things. There's also, if in terms of materials and things like that to use, there might be people that I work with. In fact, I do work with quite a few children with special education needs, and some of them really do not like getting messy at all. And just the texture and the feeling of stuff. So I wouldn't use chalks, like soft chalks, or many paints, or clay, or anything like that with those particular people. I would use more of the kind of drawing or oil pastels or things like that was slightly less messy. Yeah, texture can play an interesting role, actually, really interesting role in it. So yeah, there are different techniques, different exercises, and different materials that I'd use depending on the person. You kind of try and get to know them during that, or pick up kind of things from them during that first session. Mel, what have you asked? What would help someone who has lots of creative ideas but struggles to get them out as expected? Ah, okay. So it's more about the technique. So you got all the ideas there, and then when you come and actually do something or create something, you think, I haven't. Yeah, it's not what I wanted. It's not what I wanted. Actually, interestingly, a few of the children that I work with special education needs really struggle with that, because it's not how they've pictured it, and that's not how I wanted it. And so quite a lot of the time they ask for help, where in some situations, in some schools, they'd very much be told, well, just try and do it yourself. You don't need help, do it yourself. I have actually had one of my workshop attendees say that to me, like, you always help me when I ask and don't just tell me to do it myself. So that's quite interesting. So either ask for help and get the input of other people into that, of techniques and how to do it, or practice. It's literally practice. So when you've got a creative idea in your head and you've got a particular idea of a drawing, but it doesn't come out quite right, or quite how you wanted, or quite that finished result that you wanted, it's just about practice. I get asked all the time, why are you so good? You're so good. Why at drawing or at painting? And I'm not fantastic. Like, I'm not the best technical drawer. I'm not the best technical painter by a long stretch at all. But I think I get asked that question because they're like, oh, you can just do it. Yeah, I can just do what I'm drawing and what I'm doing now. But that's after years and years and years of practice and a degree. Not that my degree was probably amazing for my technical abilities, more developmental, but that's just practice. It's like playing a musical instrument. You're not going to pick up a violin and know exactly how to play it right there and then. You do need practice, and then once you've practiced that particular piece of music, everyone goes, wow, that's really good, and it comes out how you want it. It really is just practice. And I know that's probably a hard thing, a bitter pill to swallow, but it is just practice. And I think and getting the help and asking, is there a particular way I need to do this, or how can I tweak that better? Particularly with drawing, in a lot of my drawing workshops, I get people saying, oh, it's not quite right. And like the life drawing that we do, it's not quite right, it's not quite how I wanted it. And half of that is drawing what is actually in front of you, rather than what your brain thinks you're seeing. So sometimes you look at it and you go, oh, it's a cup. I know exactly how a cup looks, so that's what I'm going to draw. And your brain goes, yeah, that's what a cup looks, that's what I'm going to draw. But then you sometimes get the proportions all out, because it's not actually the cup exactly as it is in front of you. So you've kind of got to think of things in terms of shapes. Hopefully sorry, I've rambled on there. Hopefully that's answered your question, Mel. But yeah, tips and hints and asking for advice and practice is mainly that. What have we got? Yeah, so Emma's put a tip here. Ira Glass The Gap on YouTube is really good for reminding us about the distance between what we make and what we want to make. And yeah, it's all about practice. Yeah, that's really interesting actually, because quite often in my own artwork, in my own art pieces, I'll have an idea of what I want it to be and what I want it to look like. And actually probably about 50% of the time, it doesn't turn out how I want it to be, and turns out into something completely different. But I still like it and I still run with it. I think that's why I quite like techniques like the monoprinting techniques I've been doing in my own artwork recently, because it turns out completely differently each time and you have less control over it. So you can't take any blame for it going wrong, I guess. Yeah, it goes to an interesting point about how we want it to look and how it turns out. Has anyone else got any other questions? As I say, they can be about Arty Farty Retreat, they can be about the business, they can be about creativity in general, they can be about mental health. Ask away. It's been such a lovely week this week. It's been so good. Doing all sorts of things for kind of mental health awareness, because that really is the kind of the drive behind Arty Farty Retreat. It's not just about teaching art. It's not just about teaching techniques. It's about helping people find their creativity and then realising the benefits of being creative. It's always, I think, the last thing on people's lists quite a lot of the time. And it's about giving yourself the permission to do it. So I think, like going to the gym, really, is probably the last thing on my list. It's probably way below creativity. But like going to the gym or looking after yourself or eating healthier, all of these things that we kind of want to do, it's just about what you prioritise. And my personal belief is that creativity needs to be kind of, you know, way up there. Most of us are very lucky in the fact that our basic needs are met. You know, if you look at kind of Maslow's hierarchy of needs, our basic needs are met. We're fairly safe. We've got roofs over our heads, all of that. But actually, those kind of higher levels of sort of relationships and emotions and strong relationships, and then kind of creativity is up at the top with enlightenment, really. So with spiritual enlightenment, so I think everyone should be creative. What have we got? Olivia and I did some marbling last night. Not much control there. No, not at all. Not with marbling. I like it. I like that process of marbling, that you can, just lose control completely. Which again, you know, you've kind of got to go for your own style, haven't you? And what you feel comfortable with. And I think art is about, and being creative is about exploring and questioning and trying all those different techniques that perhaps you have never tried before. It's really interesting. Really, really interesting. What have we got? Emma, you've been so amazing this week and since lockdown started. Do you think you are naturally a healer? Oh, that's a big question. I think my family might say so, actually. I tend to be a mothering type. I tend to kind of care for people and about people. Interesting that my career has kind of taken its pathway into healthcare, even though I did nothing to do with healthcare in my education. That's a really interesting term as well, healer, because that can conjure up so many images for people. I think I would probably say naturally, yes, I am. Like I lend myself to that side of things. Yes is the short answer to that question, Emma. Yes, I think I probably am, and I think, you know, kind of the creative arts and in all sorts of ways. I mean, drama, music, dance, all sorts of creative things can be so healing. So healing. There's a reason why we put on different types of music when we feel heartbroken. There's a reason why different films or different paintings provoke different emotions. I think it's incredibly healing. Yeah, definitely. Ruth, what's a good tip for hello Ruth? What's a good tip for someone who's really short on time to find a chance to get creative? Aha. So 10 minutes. 10 minutes every day. So there was a really good, I think she's got a Facebook page as well, but a really good woman called Nikki who does 10 of Zen. I think it's 10 of Zen or 10 of Zen, I think, where she took 10 minutes every day to just have a short meditation. So all of her work's about meditation. And I think a lot of people are now realising the benefits of meditation and really getting into it. And it's just 10 minutes, which I think is a cracking idea because, we don't all have time. We do not all have time. So I would say 10 minutes of creativity a day. That's my prescription. If you're short on time, 10 minutes doodling. 10 minutes doodling. It's just, I would say, just as good, obviously, just as good as meditation. Because literally just that 10 minutes break of doing something completely different, using a completely different part of your brain, and just getting that creativity in there. So that's why like the tutorials that I do are only about 15 to 20 minutes on the Facebook lives, because I'm aware that everyone's quite busy and stressed, and actually just taking that short amount of time out can have such a huge benefit, such a huge benefit. So that's what I'd say if someone was really short on time. Take a notebook with you, take a sketchbook with you in your handbag, so that when you sit down and have that coffee for 10 minutes, or you're sitting there on your lunch break during work, you can just have literally 10 minutes of it doodling or drawing or sketching something. You know, if you've got a picture of something in front of you, sketching it, or the view in front of you, and just literally having fun with it. And that can just be a pencil and a back of an envelope. It doesn't have to be a sketchbook and a set of fancy fine liners or anything. So that's what I'd say. Set yourself 10 minutes a day, and then slowly it becomes a habit, doesn't it? Like with 10 minutes of meditation a day, it becomes a habit. It becomes part of your routine. So that's what I'd say for that. Has anyone else got any questions? If anyone's got any questions, pop them down. As I say, it's about all sorts of things, about me, about Arty Farty Retreat, about creativity, and about mental health with that as well. Do just pop your questions below. I have to say, creating this kind of online community has been amazing. It's been really, really good. As I say, about half of the people I think that watch all the tutorials and take part of them have never been to the studio before. And so it's been great. It's been absolutely great to create that community online and have people kind of commenting on other people's artwork as well. It's been really positive and really empowering for me, and I think it has for those that have joined in as well. So we're going to carry on and perhaps create a kind of membership group online, so that we can carry this on through and out of lockdown as well. And maybe have some things like making days and online critiques and Zoom meetups or something like that. So we'll do various bits with that. So I don't think anyone's got any more questions. Everyone's been very kind of quiet for the minute. Thank you guys so much for joining me, and thank you for joining in for everything for Createness Week. So Createness Week, as you know, was a joint effort for Creativity and Wellbeing Week, which is done by London Arts for Health, and for Mental Health Awareness Week, which I think their theme was Kindness Matters. So we came up with Createness. So thank you guys. Thanks for enjoying it. Thanks for participating. Thanks for asking all your questions and listening to me ramble on. If you've got any other questions later on, or if you've got any questions, do pop them in the comments and I will try and answer them later. Have a very good Sunday. Enjoy. Next week, for anyone who wants to join in with us, we're doing watercolour painting, which again is a very, very nice, relaxing one. You don't really have to think too much for watercolour painting. So it's a really, really nice one to do. Sure. Oh, thank you. Oh, Rose, I've got one last question. I'll answer this one and then I'll stop. When were you first creative? Rosie, that's a very unfair question. Rosie's my sister, for anyone else who's watching. That's a very unfair question to ask, because you know my memory is shocking. When were you first creative? I've no idea. I'll have to ask my parents. I'll have to ask mum and dad, and I'll get back to you. Not a clue. Probably baking in the kitchen. That's probably when I was first creative. Not a clue. Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome, Olivia and Victoria. You're welcome. Thank you very much for joining. I will see you guys very, very soon. Monday, tomorrow at 2 p.m. doing watercolour painting. For anyone that wants to catch up on anything that we've done this week or previous weeks, all of the doodle chats and the tutorials are all on our Facebook page, and Ed has very, very kindly just put all of the tutorials that we've done so far on YouTube as well, so they're all on our YouTube channel. So if you wanted to share these with anybody who's not on Facebook, because I know not everyone is, they can find them on our YouTube channels as well and join in. Enjoy! Thank you so much, guys. Have a really good Sunday. See you soon. Bye.